Feedback. Feedback.
Hi, this is Theo Broughton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinda,
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for Feedback.
a positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you.
Feedback. Feedback. Feedback.
And
Rock
don't forget,
solid
you can always take
entertainment.
us along with you. Happy Monday to everybody. We're almost into April. That would be tomorrow, of
April
course.
Fools.
Yeah. Have you thought of anything that they do to play a trick on your friends yet? Oh, man. I want to say happy Monday to Barbara and the Sister Fedora, Sister Charlene, Katrina. She's back in town. And I want to say happy Monday to Eric and to Carl. Carl, you're supposed to come down and be with us. We're still waiting. Happy Monday to Ron and Derek. And who you want to say good morning to?
Shout out to Professor Griggs, also Sister Ruth Ann, Sister Jackie, and as I always say, and let's say Brother Keith Hines. We haven't shouted him out for a while. Brother Keith Hines, a shout out to him. And as I always say, have your pen and paper handy because you never know when there's going to be some information you want to jot down. As a matter of fact, let me give you one thing that I'll give you throughout the show. This Saturday at 9 a.m. at the downtown campus of Wayne County Community College at 9 a.m., the Alkebulan Center is having a martial arts presentation. It's free. Okay, let's get that clear. It's free. And martial arts is an excellent way for our children to develop discipline, to understand how to be mannerable. There's so many aspects to martial arts, and the Alkebulan Center also has classes for our youth, particularly our youth. I believe it's from
5 to 17.
5 to 17 years old. So if you want to, you can bring your family, get a chance to actually view children who are doing martial arts, and this may inspire you to want to get your child involved. So again, that'll be this Saturday, 9 a.m. at the downtown campus of Wayne County Community College District. And if you didn't have your pen and paper handy, I will mention this a couple more times within the show.
Yes. Now, this morning, we have our guest with us, and it's Carl Washington. Charles Washington. I'm sorry. Charles Washington. And I want to start out by asking, who is Charles Washington?
Who is Charles Washington? Okay. Well, first I'd like to thank you for having me on your show.
Certainly.
I mean, it's been a great honor to view the material and learn from you and to know what you are about. I'm so honored. I've heard of Hood Research since the 90s.
Wow.
So it's a big honor for me to meet you. Okay. I love
Thank
you, my
you.
sister.
All right.
I love you, and I know many brothers who love you as well.
All right.
And
Well,
sisters,
we
too.
hope you'll join us.
Yes, and so I thank you
Become
for
a member of Hood Research.
I thank you for having me. So my birth name is Charles Washington, and I'm also known as Woko. A lot of people know me as Woko because I have an African name in Woko Labu Amadi. And when I first got that name, a lot of people were having a problem remembering it and pronouncing it. They were calling me Woko, Wuku, Walakaluku, all type of crazy stuff. But I began to understand that they didn't mean any harm by that. They just couldn't remember it. And so when some brothers started to say Woko, which is just the middle part of the name, it just sort of stuck. And I use Woko as like my author, as my name for my books.
It has a meaning.
But in Woko Labu means huge he-man, strong man. My last name was Amadi, which is great, wealthy, influential man. It's from the Igbo tribe of Nigeria.
Okay.
The person who gave me the name, I remember saying to him, I don't have any wealth. And he said, well, you have a wealth of knowledge. So that's why I'm giving you the name.
Yes.
And so as you may know, we should receive our names through others, but sometimes people pick their own names, and they tend to pick something that's macho or something that doesn't even fit their character. So I was happy to receive my name from the brother who gave it to me. It was based upon my work and how he saw me. But
Okay.
I'm a man. I'm a humble man. I'm also a strong man, a soldier and a warrior in the cause for our people. I'm a musician. I play 5 instruments. I've been a musician since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And I teach people how to play the bass guitar, the drums, the piano, keyboard, synthesizers, organs, lead guitar. Right now, I do it for free.
Whoa.
Building a school called Soy Music, Save Our Youth Musicians United to Strengthen and Inspire Children. And as soon as I get the space to do it in, I'm going to continue. And I'm also working in conjunction with other musicians. We want to teach children and teenagers how to play live music.
Oh,
Okay?
yes.
We're not
yes.
knocking people who are doing it from the computer point
I
of view,
know,
but we
live
understand the
music.
spirituality that's related
Yes.
to playing live music.
Oh, wow.
Western society, they have. I apologize for the telephone. I know that we're live. Let me turn it off right now. This is my first time doing the show like that, so I'll get a pass for that, right?
yes.
But Western society, they tend to take everything that when I say we, I'm talking about Black African original people, everything that we produce that helps the world go around. They always want to take it and synthesize it and capitalize off of it.
Rename it.
So they have the youngsters today thinking that in order to make music, you have to have a drum machine.
Oh.
But all of the classic songs and the hit songs that we were raised on were all performed by live drummers. Anything that your mother and your grandmothers or great-grandmothers, anything they listen to, and even you today, for you youngsters who do listen to live music, those weren't drum machines, those weren't computers, and they were always on beat. So I come from that perspective. But when I was 19, around 19, I began to meet a lot of brothers in the reggae industry. And through listening to reggae music, I started to hear a lot of political themes and things about Africa and things about culture and God and spirituality and racism and revolution. And that inspired me to want to go deeper. And I started to hear about Benjamin Banneker and Imhotep. And I became African-centered, First, it started with more of a revolutionary spirit, wanted to just stand up and fight for the cause of what's right. But in doing that, you connect with other men and women who are on the same page, and you go to different functions. So I started to go to Black History functions all the time, and I would just receive all this information that I had never heard. All of the great things about the mama land. I call Africa the mama land. So most people say motherland. I say mama because mama is an African word, and I began to receive so much information, and I began to understand the connection that we had to that great continent. And I was into it at that time. I was considered a neophyte. I still consider myself a neophyte because we should always be humble, and we're always students, no matter what, no matter how old we get or how much knowledge.
A lot to learn.
We still have to tell ourselves that we're still babies on this planet. But it was during that time of my growth that I was incarcerated. And so when I was incarcerated, luckily I had a foundation to stand upon. So while I was incarcerated all through that journey, I continued to study Africa. I continued to study honorable African culture. I became more spiritual. I began to do libations. I began to pray. I began to meditate. And I began to disseminate that information to others. And I became involved with all of the brothers who were on some positive stuff. That's who I hung around. And so that's a little bit. That's a gist of who I am, just a little bit.
All right.
You know, one of the things that I've done, and I make a point to mention this to people, like when you mentioned incarceration, we had Brother Boatwright on who mentioned that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I always want to remind people that Malcolm was incarcerated.
Malcolm was.
Martin Luther King was incarcerated.
Yes.
Matter of fact, if you were fighting for anything worthwhile and you were black, male or female,
Yes.
you probably were incarcerated
Yes.
because they viewed you as a threat.
Yes.
And if they didn't incarcerate you, they kill you. We look at Brother Fred Hampton,
Yes.
and they got Brother Amin Jalil Amin down
Yep.
there in, I believe it's in Georgia, and we had Mahmoud Abu Jamal still in prison, and that's and he's a political prisoner. So
Yes,
we have
sir.
to understand that when our people were, many of them were in prison, they were political prisoners.
Yes, sir.
Assata Shakur had to leave for that very reason, and then we know the movement in Philadelphia where Mayor Good, a black man, kind of bowed down to the powers that
Yep.
be and allowed them to bomb black people
Yep.
who were just fighting for their rights. So when we, and as Malcolm said, I always like to add this too. Malcolm said, yeah, y'all surprised that I say I was in prison. He said some of y'all still in prison. And he was looking at the mental prison
right.
that we in. So
right.
let us be aware that we are in prison by materialism, Western ways. I was glad you mentioned that because anytime that I speak with people and I post something, I say, well, you know, Western man. I want to emphasize
We have
that
to.
Western man because
We have to.
he's the one who went internationally conquering people. There's so much I could say, but
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I believe you said that you're also an author as well. Or-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. So let me just let me add something to what you said, my brother. Not that it needs any addition to it, but I would like to say that Malcolm also made that cell a university. He made his cell a university, and and he also said many of us are still incarcerated mentally, and we've never been behind the bars. Out here in the streets is really just minimum security, you know, from the way I see it. We could go on and on. There's so many great leaders, but not only the great, popular, well-known leaders, there are many unknown brothers and sisters who are behind bars that are helping men and women learn how to read and write, who are encouraging them to pull your pants up, stop calling women that B word, stop calling yourself that N word and everybody else. You know, go home, be nonviolent, get a job. And if you're going to be violent, it needs to be for some type of political cause. It needs to be for the right reason to defend yourself or defend your community. You know, you do have brothers and sisters who are doing that, and they don't get any recognition. So I want to give a shout out to those brothers and sisters. Also, you mentioned a man, Dennis Boatwright. He's also known as Imhotep. He's a friend of mine, personal friend. You know, he and I have labored and struggled behind those walls together. And the only reason why I mentioned the prison, you know, because I don't have to mention that I've been in prison. In fact, some people say, you don't even seem like you've been in prison, you know. And I have to explain to them there's no structure to this. There is no rhyme or reason to why we go to prison, but you can't stereotype and say he looks like a prisoner or he looks like a convict or he acts like a convict, because you have all walks of life in prison. I mean, whatever job you can think of, whatever occupation, they have been incarcerated. You know, from the politicians to the doctors and the lawyers to the athletes. You know, going on down to the drug dealers, gangbangs. It doesn't matter what your occupation is. It doesn't matter about your social status. We've all been there. So I appreciate the comment. You know, the credit goes to my mother, the way that she raised me. I'm a social person. I'm consider myself a good man who makes mistakes. Not just made mistakes in the past. I still make mistakes. But I was in prison, but prison was never in me. Never. And there are a lot of others that I know who are still in there and who have came home. And you would never know that they were in prison when you talk to them.
I like the way you put that, because I heard somebody say, and I kind of relate to it in this way, I may have been in the projects, which I was, but the projects wasn't in me because I was always a student seeking something. There's just two other things that I'm going to let you talk about. The author thing. One of the things when you say N-word, somehow or another, I don't know, I went to bed at 2, then I woke up at 4, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I might be a little groggy, but I started thinking about the N-word, and you mentioned that. I said, and I thought about what Richard Pryor said when he went to Africa, and he said he looked around and saw all them black people. He said he didn't see one N-word, you know, and he said that right there was like an epiphany for him. And the reason I say that is because when I think about it, you look at the Caribbean, you look at South America, you look at Africa, they don't use the N-word. They don't even think that. And there was a comedian, she came from Britain, Great Britain or whatever, and she said, we imitate a lot of the, let's say, hip hop style and let's say the Motown and that. She said, but we never call each other the N-word. She said only here in the USA is the word used. Now the last, and that occurred to me. I thought about it. I said, you can go anywhere on this planet. The only place you're going to hear the N-word is in the USA because other black people don't use it.
Yes.
The last thing I want to say, we're going to get to the book, is that when you mentioned that you use it as an educational experience, and I posted this on Facebook because I wanted people to know, but while Malcolm was incarcerated, he read that dictionary from cover to cover, which is what made him so articulate. And I do that quite a bit myself, and I put it on there. I say, you can open up to any page, and there's some words you don't know that have either come through news or whatever source it may have come through. But I say that's a way to really advance yourself. It tells you about weights and measures. It tells you about prominent people in history. It definitely helps improve your vocabulary and deepens your understanding. So I'm just suggesting to all of you who are listening now, and share this with other people as well, pick up a dictionary and read it. You don't need the TV magazine and some of these other things that are not really educating you, but they are taking up your time. And in many cases, they're wasting your time.
In many cases, they are.
Good point.
Yes. Well, I learned how to write from listening to music and reading the words to the songs at the same time. When I say I learned how to write, I mean I knew how to write when I went to prison, but I had no idea that I was probably on a 6th grade level of reading and writing. I probably was there, and what made me, take a look at myself is when a guy read something that I wrote, and he said, how come you always begin the sentence with a capital letter? And I said, well, I thought you're supposed to always begin the sentence with a capital letter. He was talking about, I was talking about after the period.
Right.
But he had noticed that I was actually putting at the beginning of the page a capital letter, even if I was in the sentence.
Right.
So all of my words on this line, on the page, on the first line was capital.
Right in the margin.
So I heard it somewhere in school, but I didn't understand. I didn't pay attention.
Right.
And I was embarrassed. So after that, I said, what? I'm gonna hunker down and learn. And so listening to music and then following the words, I learned about commas and colons, semicolons. In fact, I began to write so much and learn so much that other people came to me, and I would edit their book manuscripts or their legal briefs and things like that. And I did it all while I was in prison. I did it all. I just applied myself.
Right.
And I want to add to what you said about the dictionary. Everyone should have 4 or 5 dictionaries. Don't think that if you have a big dictionary that you got it, because I've had the big ones, and even the big ones have some words that aren't in there. You should probably have 10 different dictionaries if you can, but you also should have an etymology. So that you can trace the history of the word, to learn the root where it comes from. If you simply invest $10 in an etymology, there are many terms you would not use. You wouldn't waste your time with it. You wouldn't speak in certain ways. You wouldn't say things like, well, common sense, all sense is not in common. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't even use words, he was rehabilitated or I was rehabilitated. You wouldn't say that. rehabilitated. No, you have to be habilitated first. Made good. Rehabilitated simply means made good again. Education coming from the educere to bring out what's already within. You know, if we had an etymology and if we teach that to the young brothers and sisters and enforce that, it will give them a total different framework to work. To work with in their own minds, not just for the school.
Right.
In their own minds.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important, because I think when they use the N word, is because their vocabulary is so limited.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and a lot of the cursing vocabulary, the other words that get used there too. If they had a larger vocabulary, they could eliminate all of that unnecessary.
Well, it's interesting. I don't catch you up, brother, but when you mentioned the cursing part, what occurred to me, and we all were like 8, 9, 10 years old. We heard adults curse, and we thought it made us grown if we curse, so we couldn't wait to be around our friends and say this, that, or the other, or write something on the bathroom walls or something like that, because we felt like that gave us our adultness, and we wanted to be, just like young men want to drive a car, they 10, 11, 12 years old, so we were in a rush to be adults, and so we imitated, unfortunately, adult behavior, which involved a little profanity, So and I only say that, Theo, because when you mentioned that, it made me think about, I can remember when I was young, I couldn't wait to say this, that, or the other, but I could only say it with my boys, right? But it made me feel like, I'm tough now. Or if you was stepping to somebody and you cursed them, it made you feel like you had power, which you didn't really have that power. But it's a false sense of power.
It's a false sense of power. But also, it's here's the problem. The contradictions in America are so strong. When our parents cursed, yes, they cursed, but they still had standards. Today it's just totally out of control.
They cursing with no
it's just
standards.
totally out of control. The record industry, and I know that's kind of supposedly dying out a little bit. It's not really dying out. They still have billions of dollars to promote what they want to promote. What has happened is, and I'll use rap music as an example. When rap music first came out, most of the record labels, they didn't want to, they were like, we don't like that junk. We're not dealing with that. But when they saw those brothers and sisters go out there and sell those records themselves out of the trunk, then, we want a piece of that. I remember the president of Atlantic Records at the time. I don't remember his name. He was on that.
Air to Gun, something like that.
Yeah. I remember him saying, I don't like rap music. I don't listen to it. I don't let my children listen to it. So why do you distribute it? He said, because it's just business. Well, most of those people are now either deceased or they've retired. There are new people in the industry. It used to be, what kind of talents do you have? Now it's what type of MBA, what type of business degree do you have? Because now it's all about the profit. So the younger children are being bombarded with that N-word over and over and over again. They think it's natural. You can't even really blame them for it, because sometimes I'm saying sometimes there's no such thing as a bad word usage, depending on how it's used. See, we weren't bombarded with that. They're bombarded with it, and so they use it all the time, and not just the N-word, just sexual. This is a hypersexual society, and they put it out through the music.
Well, the one thing, we're about to go into a break, but the one thing I want to say is that when it started, it was at least positive. For those of you out there who are sipping on your coffee this morning or orange juice, refresh your beverage. Call somebody, tell them to tune in, and we'll be back momentarily.
I'm James Ford, founder of the Obama Weekend, and a partner of the Hood Research Team, composed of the knowledgeable Theo Broden, the super analyst Henry, and the colorful Al Martin. This team discusses politics, seen and not seen, at the national, state, and local level. But to enhance the goals of this team, join or donate to Hood Research by visiting Twitter or Facebook, or visit hoodresearch.org, or call 248-234-2371. You can also join Hood Research on Phonecast every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by calling 978-990-5000. Access code 338729. Thank you very much.
It's the These Nuts Show with your host, Butter and friends. Butter here, magician escape artist, practicing for my show tonight. Come on in, have a seat.
All right, everybody settle. Butter, you're on in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hold on a few seconds. There gotta be enough to get out of this one. Twist, a little turn, ta-da! It's showtime. It's your old friend Butter here. I may be a nut, but I know to wear my mask. Please welcome my first guest tonight, fitness guru, Wally Wallman.
Wally Wallman here to tell you to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds so you will stay healthy and strong like me.
Almond Cruz here, sliding in with the news. Distance is what we must do to stay away from the chew and other germs in the air that might be trying to get on you. Social distancing is a wonderful way to see friends. As long as you're 6 feet apart, you win.
Hey there, friends. I wouldn't miss this for the world. It's me, Pumpkin Spice, your healthy girl. Remember, it's important to use your kind hearts and follow the signs to stay healthy and safe at all times.
Chica Chiminsky here to say, don't forget the little ones that need you to lead the way. That's how we remember to wash our hands, mask, and social distance today.
Morgan Raisin. Yes, it's me, here to sing about health and safety. We are all here to help get a message out to your grapevine, teaching healthy choices to stay safe all the time.
Don't let these guys drive you nuts. Put your mask on first. They'll let you be. And it keeps me safe from the
chew
that's trying to get on me.
Butter me up. She's right, you know. Thank you, Hallie Cranberry, for joining the show. Let's all be nuts about our health. Social distancing, wash your hands frequently, use hand sanitizer, and wear a mask. Practice what we learned to stay away from the chew germs. We're all in this together. Coming soon, the many adventures of these nuts in a theater near you.
I've always been a runner, but I've never run from anything, and neither has my city.
Do you want to be a Detroit police officer?
Sir, yes, sir! Ah! Amen!
It's something special to protect the people closest to you, the ones you've known all your life, your neighbors, your friends. I was born in this city, and I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. That's why I wear the shield.
This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman. I am here to address all of your complaints and concerns. If you need assistance regarding city services, please contact my office at 313-224-6000 or contact us via email at ombudsman@detroitmi.gov. This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman.
Feedback.
Hi, this is Theo Broughton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinda.
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for feedback.
A positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you.
Feedback.
And we are back. Thank you for staying tuned to Hood Research, and the program is called Feedback. And we like to have your feedback at any time, whether you call us, write us, come to our meetings, and we're going to be having an in-person meeting soon. Our guest with us this morning is Charles Washington. I got it right, Charles Washington. I wanted to hear about the book that you wrote. Oh, wait a minute. We got a caller.
Hello, caller. You on the air? Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Hello.
Hello. You're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is James Ford from the Obama Weekend. I'd like to say, God bless everybody that's listening to this call and listening to me at this time. I just wanted to say this. Last year, we kind of took on a new thing. We went to Lansing to talk about the reckless driving and what is going on in the city with that. And we kind of finished with that project. However, we would like people to still go to United States for Safe Driving on YouTube, United States for Safe Driving on YouTube, and view that and share it, because the people that took that over from me might be going back to Lansing, and I hope we will. Last year we canceled the Obama Weekend, which is the Obama Festival. This year we're going to bring it back. It's going to be at Dabbles, at Grand River and the Boulevard. Grand River and the Boulevard, that's Dabbles. The first weekend in August, that is August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This year's theme is going to be all proactive groups. Try to come and bring a presentation. Say something. We need to unite. I've said this over and over in the city of Detroit, and a lot of people know me for saying we got 1,000 proactive groups in the city, and we can get something done if we stick together and try to do one thing or try to do two things. So I just want to say that at the Obama Weekend Festival, all proactive groups are invited to bring a presentation and do whatever you want to do. Yes. We're going to have Name That Tune, karaoke. We're going to have the auction, clean out your garage. Do what you do. We're going to have ballroom. People can potluck if they desire. The vendor fees are only $30. Please try to get this now. The vendor fees are $30 for all 3 days. So I would like everybody to call 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579, and get your spot now, because those vendor fees are going to go fast. Anything that you want to do at the Obama Weekend, especially the mayoral candidate, we want them to come and talk about what they propose. That is all I have to say. The theme this year is let's stick together. If anybody has any questions, I'd like to address them. I mean, maybe you don't. Maybe I was clearly stated, but if anybody has a question, I will entertain that.
I just want to clarify that weekend is August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That's the first weekend of the month. And it is free to attend. But if a person wants to be a vendor, it's $30. Is that correct for all 3 days?
It's $30 for all 3 days. And they're not going to find that anywhere. So they can call 995-3579. 995-3579 and get in early, because we're going to try to just have a whole weekend of just communication. That is what we need now. We are in a dire spot, and we got to stick together. And that's basically it.
Okay. Do you have a question?
God bless everybody, and thank everybody for listening, and keep on doing what you're doing. And call the Democratic Party. Somebody got that number. Call the Democratic Party and tell them they got to get together. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the truth. Definitely.
Yeah, they got it. I'm going to call them today, and I'm going to tell them we got to stick together. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, brother.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller, you're on the air.
What advice or what books would he recommend young people who are trying to start their own African-centered education? What books or authors would he recommend to them to start off?
You're speaking to our guest, Charles Washington, right?
Hello.
Maybe hung up. Okay. What do you recommend?
Hello?
Yes. Our guest is going to answer your question.
Well, first, like our sister Queen just said, Charles Washington. But you could also call me Woko, because a lot of people know me as Woko. Wow, that's a great question.
Get closer to the microphone. Closer to the microphone.
Okay.
One of the things that I want to interject is this coming weekend, El Kibalan is having a program for families at Wayne County Community College, health and fitness building, which is on 4th Street, and they cater to teaching children from 5 years of age through 17 years of age. Now, that we all recommend.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's ironic you said that, because I'm going over there today at 3:00 to talk with some people at the Kibblin Village. And I love that name.
Yeah,
Kibblin, one of the
yes.
oldest original names for the continent of Africa. There are so many books that I would recommend for youngsters to read, and sometimes some people are just not ready for certain books, but they can get ready. Like I just wouldn't give anyone the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or even some Frantz Fanon work may be considered a little too scholarly for someone who's just starting out. But I definitely would give Visions for Black Men by Naim Akbar. I would recommend Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. I would recommend Black Men of the Nile and His Family by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, who we call Doc Ben.
Oh, yeah.
I would recommend any of the works by Professor Dr. John Henrik Clarke. And the caller who called in before this one, he was saying we need to stick together. I have many lecture tapes of Professor Dr. John Henrik Clarke, and he always answers questions from the audience members brilliantly. But I'll never forget the guy who asked Dr. Clarke, what can you tell us about unity to get more unity? And Dr. Clarke said, I'm still working on that one. That's just that, it's just that deep,
Right.
We have so much going on, psychologically we've been attacked from every which way but loose. Some of us don't know who we are. Some of us have a little tidbit of who we are. Some don't care, Then we're trying to survive. And so sometimes people don't even have time to study. They're just trying to eat, And so I would recommend the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. The list can just go on and on.
Right.
I have a library that's small compared to what I know and what I've read. I could just go on and on, but to start with, I would just give them the Visions for Black Men, or Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. That's definitely one, because a lot of people don't believe, nor do they understand that the effects of slavery, the physical chattel slavery, are still present today. It exists, in our minds.
Yeah.
And some people don't know that, and they look at you like you're crazy. Man, I don't want to hear that black stuff, man. White man hold me back.
They black and they don't want to hear black stuff.
And this is a good one here. I ain't no African. I'm like, excuse me. You know?
I had a brother the other day. He was trying to tell me, you know, we're Indians. We're Indians. We're the original people of this land. We're not from Africa. And I was just trying to get him to understand one thing. Be an Indian. Call yourself that. But when you look at another brother, forget the term. Come on now, y'all. Let's be real. All those terms out there. I don't care if you want to say African, Moorish, Asiatic, Native American, Hebrew, whatever. You don't need any of them terms to look at a brother and sister and know that that's your brother and sister.
Right.
So why would you want to cut off a large segment of the world who are you, they look like you, act like you, and share your DNA? And also, I'm talking to the viewer who may disagree with me. I've heard it 1,000 times. Oh, the people in Africa don't like us. You got over 800 million people on that continent, and you're going to just talk about a few incidents? I can't walk from the east side to the west side without bumping into someone who don't like me. So you're always going to have that. But you're not going to say that everybody on the African continent dislikes the brothers and sisters in America, because I know people who live in Africa, and I know people who visit Africa, and they have wonderful experiences. Just because we had problems and still have problems, that doesn't mean they're not our brothers and sisters. So you may have a Chinese person in America, right? He lives and he practices Chinese culture. Yeah, he may work and pay his taxes, but he'll go home and eat with chopsticks. And he got that big old country overseas that he holds dear in his heart. You know, yeah, I'm in America, but that's my mother right there, Mother China. Black people, the only ones don't want to do that. We got this big old African continent, 11,681,000 square miles. And all of the cultures in Africa are different. Just like cultures right here in America, with black people, we are different, but we're still the same. A culture is just a way of life. That has nothing to do with the genetics. It has nothing to do with the blood. Who you are cannot be changed scientifically. Genetically, it can't be changed. You can act any way you want to act, but you can't change who you are. So I'm never going to say those brothers over there are not my brothers and my sisters because they do some things that I may disagree with, because I can point out brothers and sisters over here who do things I disagree with. I may do some things that you disagree with. I'm still your brother, and you're still my brother. You're still my sister, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I learned Africa more in depth when I watched a little 4-year-old white boy. I'm saying white boy because he was 4 years old. He was a boy, you know. They had him on the news, and he had a big globe in his living room. His parents had a big globe, and they would spin it around, and then they would just tell him, they would just name a country. They would say, find Poland. And little white boy would run up to the globe, put his hands on the globe. He was so little he couldn't even stop it from spinning. And he'd go right to Poland, and then they'll, you know, say, well, what's the capital of Poland? He would say Warsaw, you know. And I began to notice that they would always call out countries from Europe. And two, I noticed that I knew all of the capitals from Europe. So I started asking myself, why the hell do you know all this Europe stuff and you don't know Africa? But I realized, because I grew up with my big brother, whom I love, I used to sit next to my little brother and watch army movies out there, war movies, all this World War II stuff. I'm a scholar at World War II. Sit with the best of them, anything about World War II. I don't know a damn thing about World War I, but World War II. But it came from sitting with my brother. And I realized I don't know anything about Africa. So I learned the whole continent of Africa and all the capitals, and then I went on to learn the whole world. That was important to me. Why should a 4-year-old boy know the world and I don't?
And that Africa is the largest continent on the planet, and today is 2025. People are now trying to tell us that it is not. It's the second largest.
Well,
amazing.
So here's something, and it's ironic because I have some information, but I'm not going to bring it out. We'll just discuss it and see if the callers disagree. You know, first of all, it's 6 continents, not 7. I know we've been taught in school that there are 7. Now, if I was on Jeopardy and they asked me the question, how many continents are there for 250,000? 7? That's what I'm going to say. But I know it's only 6, because Europe is not a continent. Europe is a peninsula of Asia. It's connected to Asia. Asia is connected to Europe. At one point in time, it was called Eurasia.
Eurasia.
In order to be a continent, it has to be one of the 6 large unbroken land masses distinguished from an island or peninsula, completely surrounded by water, or at least 90% surrounded by water. The only thing that fits that definition is Australia, South America, North America, Eurasia, Antarctica, and last but definitely first, Africa. Those are the only things that fit that definition. So why do they say Europe is a continent? Why can't you go in a dictionary and see that, or an encyclopedia? Because the people that control world education systems, they are from Europe. So they want their little bitty land to seem like it's more important than what it really is.
They jealous.
And we buy into that. Not only that, Africa has more resources than any continent. If we close our eyes and just any, meeny, miny, mo, put any 3 to 5 African countries together, the resources, it would be a superpower. It would have the same type of resources as the United States. And when they talk about Africa being the second continent, they can say that because they want to, put the 17 million total land square miles of Asia and Europe together. However, we're talking about land in Africa that's worth something. We're not talking about that desert stuff, because the desert, even though Africa has not just the Sahara, many deserts, Africa still has more land that produces physical resources, all of the cobalt and the copper and the uranium and the water, and not to mention the animals and the trees and the rainforest. No continent can compete with Africa.
It used to be said, and then they kind of took it away, but we understand why, that Africa was the bread basket of the world. Still is. They could sustain themselves if they didn't have the imperial and colonial influences, which right now, and Brother Boatwright is very much on this, the Sahel countries, which is Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They pronounce it 2 or 3 different ways, but they have just sort of pulled away and said, we're not going to let the Europeans dominate us like they did. So France is going crazy because they were feeding off of Africa for so long. But Carl, I want to just bring this to your attention and ask you if you had any more questions. But when the brother mentioned the Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, I think that's a very good starting point. Now, one of the things you can do, because I've been doing this for the last couple of years, if you go on YouTube and you research like Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, I was looking at Dr. Leonard Jeffries last night, Dr. Tony Martin. There's a lot of brothers out there, Ivan Van Sertima, Sheikh Anta Diop. There's a lot of things, but once you start searching something, those algorithms will start hitting you with all kind of the similar material, so that way you cannot really even exhaust it. Dr. Asa Hilliard, Richard King, they're speaking on melanin. There's so much, but I would start, like he said, everything like Frantz Fanon, excellent. He's a French sociologist, excellent brother, but he might be a little too heavy. So I would start with something like The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. J.A. Rogers is another person to just research his name. He brought out so many. He did one book called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro. So it's there. He wrote many books, but then he wrote one called From Man to Superman. There's so many books, but if you start researching a few things, particularly on YouTube, it will start bringing all these other things to you. So we can get away of the mindless TikTok stuff and this other stuff, because, I mean, these are distractions, and these people are good at providing distractions from us, so we don't deal with reality. We deal with a fake reality, fake news, reality shows that have nothing to do with reality, but they've named them that way. So did you have any other questions, caller?
He said something. Anyway, the other book, we've had Anthony Brogdon on with us. He has a book, Black Business, and all of the information in the book that he has written is positive, and it makes you feel good about reading that your own people have invented, discovered, produced, and there's a few people in that book who were enslaved during the time they went into business.
Well, you've heard
Should we
them
do it,
say
Cheryl?
that the white man really didn't create anything but the patent office.
Yeah.
Heard that before, right?
I like that.
You know,
Right,
we come up with the stuff. Well, you're a slave. You can't own anything, but your owner can own it.
Yes.
So, you know what fascinates me is that you can get facts, especially during Black History Month. You see them all over the place. They hand out papers that says inventions by Black people. They're all beautiful and good inventions, you know, but they tend to limit it to the things on the American side, which are important. The pencil sharpener, you know, the eraser, the
ironing board,
you know, all that stuff. That's great, wonderful stuff. But where's the one that's going to tell you about the mathematics? You know, nothing exists without mathematics. Where's the one going to tell you how we created that? You know, how we discovered the spirituality. You know, how what we call Masonry and Freemasonry. Those are the deeper issues.
Right.
Those are the deeper, not issues, but schools of thought that preceded the pencil sharpener and the street light and the blood and the method for preserving blood plasma. You know, they need to take it back to before there was a European on the planet, what we had produced. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And I always try to let people know as well, Greeks were basically the first European society, and Romans came after that. But the Greeks learned from the Africans. They learned from the Egyptians. Hippocrates, they call him the father of medicine, but Imhotep happened to be the actual father of medicine. He preceded Hippocrates by over 1,000 years. And we look at Herodotus. But when you look at some of these people, Diodorus, and some of the others, they say that the people they learned from were the Africans, because at that time there was no race thing. They were just tribes or cultures. That was it. So, and I always make this point because, you know, I run into a few Europeans. There are some who are genuine and they acknowledge the truth.
Yes, sir.
But I have to let them know, I say, look, our fathers taught your fathers, period. That's it. We taught you all. And what you took back to Greece, and then later on Roman, because the Romans came after the Greeks. What we did was we gave y'all a little bit. Matter of fact, they used to call y'all boys because the knowledge of the European at that time was so slight that they came and got little bits and pieces of this and that, took it back to their people. They became great scholars, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, even, I don't call it, you know, some people say Alexander the Great, some say Alexander the Macedonian, I say Alexander the Greek, because that's what he was. The Great, that's just something they ascribe to themselves, but it has no validity, and that's what we have to make it a point to do. Last thing I want to say on that is another thing that we have to do as people is we don't say we were slaves. We say we were enslaved. That's what they did. They enslaved us. They didn't go over there and get slaves. They went over there and got Africans and then enslaved them. So we have to be aware, because I'm a writer, poet, lyricist. Theo knows she actually did some stuff on one of my little rap songs. She sang the hook on there, her and another lady. Yeah, she got skills. So, but what I did is I try to make it a point to say that words are very important. Matter of fact, they're critical, because that's what shapes the mind, and that's what shapes cultures. And they used to want to say the Great Pyramid was Cheops or Cheops, but it's actually Khufu. So now they're coming around to call it by the African name that it was. But we can't let other people define things and then accept their definition as if it were our own. One of our great people said that, I'm not sure who, but the power is the ability to define something and have other people accept your definition as if it were their own. We can no longer do that.
Yeah, that was
Well, you know, and today in 2025, there is an African who has invented a car that the electric car that charges itself. And I heard on, I don't know, C-SPAN or somewhere, that it's been said, well, we don't know it's good. Now, this is what President Musk said. That's who they say is running this country. But anyway, he said, well, we don't know that it's good because it hasn't been certified by the United States. So according to him, it doesn't matter what you have. It's if they have not certified it, they're not going to talk about it. I'm like, oh, wow. So as the Biddy was saying, we have to write our own history, teach our own history, share our own history consistently, you know.
And that's important that we have to tell that part there to the students. Like, hey, you're going to hear some things from us that you never heard before, but it's important for you to know that we are here to teach you the truth, because most of the things you learn in school or just growing up in society, especially about yourself, is false, you know.
Now we're approaching the top of the hour.
Oh, goodness.
FCC time again.
Okay.
So we're going to take a brief pause for the cause, and as Theo would tell you, refresh your orange juice, coffee, and eat a piece of fruit as opposed to some starchy confectionery white flour. And have your pen and paper handy, because we're going to give you that information again about the event this weekend at Wayne County Community College District downtown campus.
And we will be back momentarily.
It's the These Nuts Show with your host, Butter and friends. Butter here, magician escape artist, practicing for my show tonight. Come on in, have a seat.
All right, everybody settle. Butter, you're on in 5, 4, 3, 2.
In a few seconds, there gotta be enough to get out of this one. Twist a little turn, ta-da! It's showtime. It's your old friend Butter here. I may be a nut, but I know to wear my mask. Please welcome my first guest tonight, fitness guru, Wally Wallman.
Wally Wallman here to tell you to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds so you will stay healthy and strong like me.
Almond Cruz here, sliding in with the news. Distance is what we must do to stay away from the chew and other germs in the air that might be trying to get on you. Social distancing is a wonderful way to see friends. As long as you're 6 feet apart, you win.
Hey there, friends. I wouldn't miss this for the world. It's me, Pumpkin Spice, your healthy girl. Remember, it's important to use your kind hearts and follow the signs to stay healthy and safe at all times.
Chica Chiminsky here to say, don't forget the little ones that need you to lead the way. That's how we remember to wash our hands, mask, and social distance today.
Morgan Raisin. Yes, it's me, here to sing about health and safety. We are all here to help get a message out to your grapevine, teaching healthy choices to stay safe all the time.
Don't let these guys drive you nuts. Put your mask on first. They'll let you be. And it keeps me safe from the
chew
that's trying to get on me.
Butter me up. She's right, you know. Thank you, Hallie Cranberry, for joining the show. Let's all be nuts about our health. Social distancing, wash your hands frequently, use hand sanitizer, and wear a mask. Practice what we learned to stay away from the germs. We're all in this together. Coming soon, the many adventures of these nuts in a theater near you.
This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman. I am here to address all of your complaints and concerns. If you need assistance regarding city services, please contact my office at 313-224-6000 or contact us via email at ombudsman@detroitmi.gov. This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman.
I've always been a runner, but I've never run from anything, and neither has my city.
Do you want to be a Detroit police officer?
Sir, yes, sir. Amen.
It's something special to protect the people closest to you, the ones you've known all your life, your neighbors, your friends. I was born in this city, and I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. That's why I wear the shield.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
Feedback. Hi, this is Theo Broughton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinga,
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for feedback.
a positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you. Feedback.
Yes. Thank you so much for staying tuned to Feedback. You know, I'm really enjoying this program, and I want to hear about the writings. You have several books. What is it, 4 or 5 books? Tell us about your writings.
Well, at the time that I began to write, it was because I had something to say, I felt, and I didn't have access to my instruments. And that was real disheartening for me, very disheartening. So, I started to write, and it wasn't that good. When I look back on it now, I understand that. But, we all have to, take baby steps and grow.
Start, right.
And but because I was so connected to the movement to help, and let me also point this out, that I was thrust in the position that a lot of young men are thrust in, being incarcerated, where you're forced to be a leader when you're not even qualified or ready to be that. But because no one else steps up, you have to step up. So we write things, and we may misspell something, or we use double negatives and things like that. All of the so-called Western rules that really don't mean much, as long as I understand you and you understand me.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
And on the quick side note, that's the same even with when we were talking about the profanity and stuff today. We're not saying that to put any of those brothers and sisters down. Those are our brothers and sisters. As long as they understand, they teach through that, because a lot of our conscious brothers and sisters, they do use that N-word. Right. But they still do a lot of massive teaching to bring awareness to the youth. But in my case, I started writing, and because I was attached to the movement, being in prison is just another front. It's another war front from the overall struggle that black people are faced with day to day. And so I began to write things that I felt were pertinent to our survival, and our upliftment and our liberation. And I just began to write it down, what others would call poems or poetry. I wasn't trying to, recite poems at the time. I was just writing. And then one day, I was watching the news, and some guy died. Some man that was on World News tonight. He was some guy that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And in his will, he said he had 3 daughters, and he gave each one of them $1 million each. He said, "I'm not going to give you guys any more money because you're not attractive. And if I give you all the money, a lot of handsome guys are going to try to come and play on you for my money. So I'm only going to give you $1 million each. But I'm leaving $600 million for whoever can write a book that would make America a better place." Whoa. The $600 million, my lawyers, they can set it up, they can get the people in charge. Whoever writes a book that's just going to help America as far as education, poverty, homelessness, racism, whatever, they get the $600 million. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not good enough to do that, because the best writer is going to come for that $600 million. And then I said to myself, you are good enough to do that. The hell is wrong with you? You can do that. And I sat down to write the book. And then I said, you know what? Forget that $600 million. I'm going to write it for black people. And so I wrote my first manuscript, which ended up becoming New Nation, The Antidote. Philosophy, ideas, and examples of how we can improve our conditions as black people. I published this from behind bars. And you'll see my name where it says Charles Washington, a.k.a. Nwokolabu Amadi. Because at that time, I wanted to make sure that I had my so-called legal name, the government name, as everybody say nowadays.
With the birth certificate.
Yeah,
The birth
yeah,
certificate.
yeah. But when Wokalabu Amadi was that's my African name, and but then as time went on, I wrote many other things, and then I met the great Sam Greenlee. If you've ever heard of the book and the movie, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, it took me 12 years to get that book because the book is restricted from coming in prison. It's on the Michigan Department of Corrections restricted publication list. But I kept hearing about it. I kept hearing about it in so many magazines and so many people talked about it. And I finally got the book, and it blew my mind. And it changed. I felt like I was already thinking like this a little bit because remember I told you I had studied so much war stuff growing up, right? And in war, in militaries and governments, they all have intelligence agencies. Like the United States has the CIA, and Britain has the MI6 and MI5. MI6 is for worldwide operation. MI5 is for just homeland in Britain. And Russia had the KGB. Right. And Israel had the Mossad.
Exactly.
So. And I started to say, black people, we don't have an intelligence agency. We need to move beyond the emotions. We need to outthink these people on a level that they don't know that we can think on. Right. And so when I read his book, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, I was like, I knew I was right. Yeah. So now I'm really going to refine myself and think more like this. And I begin to think like the main character in his book, Dan Freeman. Oh yeah. This is a book that because we don't have time to really get into the book, but the theme of it is there was a man who took a street organization, and turned them into revolutionaries.
Right.
He joined the CIA. He was the first black CIA agent. He was a spook. A spook is a political word for spy, but it was also a derogatory word for black people. Right. There's two meanings for the word spook. So if you work for the CIA today, you're a spook. You may watch Sunday morning news and they'll say, so how are our spooks doing over in Afghanistan today? Meaning, how are the spies doing? Right. So but the reason why they say spook is because what's another word for a ghost? A spook. Right. And how does a ghost look? You don't know because a ghost is invisible. Right. So this person sitting right here could be our enemy, the three of us. This person could be the enemy to us, but we don't know it. So he or she is a spook. But in his book, by this man being the first black agent, he was therefore the spy, and he was the derogatory spook. Right. And he stayed with the CIA for 5 years, and he just held his demeanor, and he didn't get angry. He just spied on them. He learned everything that they could teach him, and in one day's notice, he quit. And he went back to Chicago, and he went to a street organization and taught them everything that the CIA taught him. And so I began to see, wow, black people, we are in every strategic position right now on the planet. We just don't have the unity that we need. Right. Everything, presidents, vice presidents, CEOs, businessman here, rich here, billionaire here, everywhere, police chiefs, mayors, you name it, we're there. We just have to be in contract with each other mentally. Like I have to have a contract with this sister and with this brother mentally. Nothing can break that contract so that we can move forward, and pull ourselves up, so to speak, uplift ourselves. So when I discovered those things about myself and I began to think like that, I asked Mr. Greenlee. He became a mentor to me. I wrote that man and talked to him on the telephone for 10 years. I never met him in person, but he became a mentor to me. And I asked him, could I write a part 2 to his book? And he said, yes, and I'll help you promote it. He said, but I got to read it first. And I wrote the book in 1 month. Wow. 1 month I was just on a roll, and I sent it to him, and he liked it. And I ultimately published it. Oh. It's called Black August, the sequel to The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Wow. When I first published it, when I first wrote it, I simply called it the Spook Who Sat by the Door Part 2. And Mr. Greenlee asked me not to call it that because he didn't want people to confuse us. So I changed to Black August and made the subtitle the sequel to The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Wow, we got a caller.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how are you viewing us, please?
Well, thank you. And thank you for calling in. I get.
I can't hear.
She's on speaker or something.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Forced American. Is that the name of a book? No, I'm. Oh! I got it. Her grandchild, Forced American. Uh-huh. You need a. And who you want to be in touch? Who is it you want to be in touch with, please?
Carpet cleaning.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, I can give you that number. Thank you for calling in.
And I want to add something quickly. What you were saying, brother, how they wouldn't let the spook who sat by the door come in there.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of brothers who I talked to who were on lockdown. They let Donald Goines and certain books like that in because those kind of books, I don't want to say they glorified street life, but they made it seem glamorous, you know. And I read Donald Goines just because it was happening here in Detroit. So if they said Fullerton or Schoolcraft or something like that, I could identify with that automatically.
You relate to it.
Yeah, so it was an automatic thing. But again, for conscious type of literature that would make us think, those kind of things, and even now with T. Rump, that's what I call him. T. Rump in the thing they want to eliminate, like I guess they're going to stop funding the Museum of African American History in D.C. I mean, it's just one of so many things, and we already know what DeSantis is doing in Florida and how, you know, they're crying about woke culture, this and that. But my whole point was, basically that they'll let brothers read things just like we were talking about rap music. They'll let you see certain things or put certain music out because they already know that first it hits you psychologically and then subconsciously you embrace that type of thing, and once you embrace that kind of thing, you act out of your subconscious not even realizing what you're doing, which is why these brothers are still, you know, sagging pants and certain little things. Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, such. They set the images out there, and unfortunately, our people, it's sort of like I always look at it like the carrot in front of the horse or the mule. They got it on the string in front of the horse. He keep walking towards that carrot, thinking he's gonna get the carrot, but so they got that out there as bait. But it's only bait to keep you going in one direction, and then they got blinders on that horse too. He can't even see what's going on the side of him. He, you know, all you can see is that carrot in front of him. If I keep walking, I'm gonna get that carrot. But of course, he can't rationalize, so he don't realize he'll never get the carrot.
Exactly.
And that's what they dangle before us with the rap music, with a lot of these negative images. They dangle that. They make us want to glorify that. The thing that they didn't anticipate though was their children are embracing some of those things too. That scared them when they found out that they want to be like Chameleonaire or Scarface or something like that. That scared them because they didn't realize.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even T. Rump, I remember way back before he was anything, and he still ain't nothing. But I remember how he was seeing his daughter Ivanka. He was in a New York radio station with 50 Cent. I'm trying to think of the other two guys that were in the G Unit thing, but nevertheless, he was in the.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. He was in there with them because rappers was using his names a lot because he represented materialism. So he said my daughter really likes that stuff that you guys are doing. He says you just keep doing what you're doing. You better keep doing what you're doing, that kind of thing. But at the same time, my point is, just to summarize, is that they didn't realize that it was going to leave from the block, the bricks, the neighborhood, and get out to the suburbs, and that's what affected them. So right now, their children don't know how to act.
Exactly. Well, one of the most prolific, phenomenal, great rap albums, CDs, cassettes, whatever they call it today. I know they downloading all that stuff. Is "Let's Get Free" by Dead Prez.
Yeah.
Get that. It's timeless, Yeah, they say that didn't work too, but they teach you all type of stuff about history, politics, the government, the CIA, racism, your black woman, your queen. You're going to learn some things. I would just want to encourage all you brothers. You can listen to whatever you want to listen to. I listen to all styles of music, but listen to some consciousness as well. Just have that in your have that on your playlist.
And it's called Let's Get Free.
Let's Get Free.
By
Dead Prez. DEADPREZ. That first album is, and when you hear the beats and all that, it sounds like it was made yesterday. That first album is a classic. Very conscious brothers, very conscious. So I was thinking about what you were saying, and it made me think back to NWA.
Right.
With Jerry Heller. Now, you remember all of that cursing and nigga, this nigga, that nigga. They did all that, right? And then, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say that word. I know we good. That's my first time at this show. So FCC, don't be mad at me. Okay. Anyway, so they do all of that.
Right.
And their manager, Jerry Heller, he has nothing to say about that.
Right.
But the minute Ice Cube said, one thing, you let a Jew break up my crew. Oh, how could he do this?
Right.
Anti-Semitic piece of crap. I'm going to sue him. I'm going to get to JD. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They put, and the same thing with, where companies like Sony and all that type of stuff, because I'm not, trying to go into Michael Jackson, whether he was guilty or innocent. I grew up on Mike, love Mike's music, him and his brothers. Joe Jackson put in a lot of work, like him or not. Joe Jackson made millions of dollars for America, billions for America, because the Jacksons revolutionized the whole industry. But back to Mike, he never had a problem until he said, "Jew me." That's all he said. Listen to his song, "They Don't Really Care About Us."
Yeah.
All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. And when he said that little part about kick me, sue me, Jew me, that was it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's still having all these problems. But you will let all these people say that B word and I'm shooting them 100 times and I did this with the girl. And then all those all them Warner Brothers, Sony, Columbia, they're all complicit. They will put out anything. I would love to talk to some of the CEOs of those companies and say, how dare you say that you're some honest, red-blooded American and you love this country, but you promote the type of stuff that you promote.
I want to add too, the same thing was with Jesse Jackson and Operation Push. When he was running for president, he happened to, I guess the mic was still hot and he didn't know it. And he happened to say Jaime Town. And right then they just, Anti-Defamation League, everybody, they just came like an avalanche on him, swarming him. And I just want to bring this up, that we're in our last 5 minutes or so of the show. Yeah. We have to have you part 2 sometime. But we're in the last 5 minutes. I know you want to put out the Hood Research contact information, etc.
Okay.
How do people contact you?
Well, you can contact me through my emails. Charles Lewis. The Lewis is Lewis. CharlesLewis.66@iCloud.com.
Charles.
Okay.
Now,
repeat that.
Charles Lewis .66@iCloud.com.
Okay, and Lewis is Lewis. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
iCloud.com.
Yes. I do have a Facebook. I don't use it. I'm not against it. I'm just too busy. I haven't really got into it. It's same with Instagram. My family tells me all the time, you got to get into this. I'm trying. I should be there by the end of the year. I'm just trying to get caught up on so many things. I got 16 books that I've written that I'm trying to publish, and I'm willing to work with any publisher out there who may be interested, all different type of topics, fiction, nonfiction, historical. I have 6 movie scripts, and just as a little hint, if someone wants to write the movie about Kwame Kilpatrick, everyone say I look like Kwame, so I'll be willing to play him.
Oh boy!
But I got, I got a lot of things I'm working on. Mainly, I'm trying to get the nonprofit Soy Music up and running. Save Our Youth, Musicians United to Strengthen and Inspire Children. Yeah. So I've just been busy. That's why I'm giving my email address instead of the Facebook, because I just don't have much going on Facebook. But I will get around to that.
That's good. That's good. Wow.
I thank you.
Oh, you're
definitely, brother. Appreciate you.
We've had a very interesting and just a show that will hopefully lift the consciousness level of those who have tuned in, who were looking for something to just to click. And now they've found it. And we've enjoyed having Charles Washington with us this morning. And I hope that you will consider purchasing his books. I said at the end of our program, it's not necessary for you to know everything. What is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need when you need it. And this is one of the people that we have found, and we're very happy to share the morning with you and you with us. Hood Research is an organization that works for unity. And one of the things that I think people need to gravitate towards is Kwanzaa. There was a caller who called us earlier asking about what can we do? Well, we can encourage others to participate in Kwanzaa, which is a 7-day program. Yep. It starts on December the 26th. And for families to participate each of the days. And Malana Karinga, who brought it out in 1966, I believe that was the year, has encouraged us to do that. He had it on 7 days that would not interfere with any other celebrations before December 25th, and there are other celebrations prior to that day. But I want to ask you to join and support Hood Research. The email for Hood Research is contact@hoodresearch.org. That's CONTACT at HOODRESEARCH.org. Contact@hoodresearch.org. Our phone number is area code 248-234-2371. Again, the telephone number for Hood Research is area code 248-234-2371. And for the caller who wants a recommendation for carpet cleaning, if you'll call that number, I'll be glad to share it with you. So you have pen and paper handy, as the BD always says, so you can write it down.
That's right.
We on Saturdays have a conference call, which is from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. And you don't have to leave home to participate. Don't have to leave your backyard. You don't even have to get out of bed if you don't want to. Just grab your phone and dial 1-978-990-5000. And the access code is 338-729. Press the pound key and you will be on with us. You're not required to stay on for 3 hours. Just call whatever time slot is convenient for you between the hours of 3 p.m. and 6. The number again is 1-978-990-5000. Access code 338-729. Press the pound key. That's each and every Saturday from 3 p.m. to 6. And the program feedback that we do on Mondays, that's every Monday, holiday or not, from 9 a.m. until 10:30. 9 a.m. until 10:30. So,
and I have a couple of things to say briefly. First, this weekend, the 5th of April at 9 a.m. at 971 West 4th Street, which is the Wayne County Community College District downtown campus, there will be a martial arts exhibition. It will start at 9 a.m. It's free. If you're interested in raffle tickets for that event, you can call you can call 313-578-1300. Again, that's 313-578-1300. There will be 3 large flat screen TVs that will be what you could win if you get the tickets. And the last thing I like to say at the end of every show is, if you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished.
And thank you so much for being with us this morning. And tune in again next Monday at 9 a.m. Peace.
Feedback. Hi, this is Theo Broughton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinga.
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for feedback.
A positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you. Feedback.